Kalyan madam, you can proceed. You can start the program. Live started. Good evening, participants. Welcome to all by Brewcast Library, Periyar University Constitute College, Papiratpatti, Dharmaburi. Within 5 minutes, we'll start the program. Please wait. Good evening, participants. Welcome to all by Brewcast Library, Periyar University Constitute College, Papiratpatti, Dharmaburi. Within 5 minutes, we'll start the program. Please wait.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your note. I welcome all the participants on behalf of Periyar University College of Arts and Science, Papiratpatti, affiliated to Periyar University, Salem. I once again welcome you all for this wonderful evening. For a wonderful webinar we are going to have on the topic Open Educational Resources by eminent librarian Dr. K. Illavalagan, librarian and chief knowledge officer from Indian Institute of Management, Trichy. With blessings of Almighty, and words of encouragement and motivation from our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P. Kulandevel, and Honorable Registrar, Dr. K. Tangavel, and enormous support and guidance from our Principal, Dr. P. Karthikeyan. So we inaugurate this session successfully. I also convey my thanks and support to Dr. A.M. Venkatachalam, Director of Libraries, KSR Educational Institutions, and Professor Dhanush Kodi, Head of the Department, Library Information Science, Alappa University, my friend Dr. A. Jayasundari, Librarian, Christopher College of Education, Veperi Chennai, and my friend and brother Dr. Brahmanathan, Librarian, Magendra Educational Institutions, for all their support and guidance. I convey my sincere thanks to our resource person, Dr. K. Elavalagan, who had accepted our request in his ambit busy schedule to this seminar to be the resource person. I think you can carry a lot after this session. I just wanted to share a few words about our college, Periyar University Constant College of Arts and Science, which is located at Paparitipatti. We are affiliated to Periyar University, Salem. So we cater to the academic needs of the rural community in and around Dharmaburi district. Our college runs 6 undergraduate courses and 3 PG courses with a strength of about 1,200 students. So we are located in the heart city of the Paparitipatti, the Dharmaburi district. So today's our topic is about open educational resources. So can everyone hear me, sir?
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am. You can continue.
Okay, sir, fine. He says it's audible. Sir, everyone says no audio there.
Oh, it's audible. I can hear you.
Sir, in YouTube live, they say it's not audible, no audio there.
Yeah, wait, I'll check it
Sir,
down.
it's audible, sir. I'm checking with the YouTube. It's not an
Yeah,
issue.
it's audible. It's audible. No problem. You continue, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So today topic is about open educational resources. I think we as librarians, we find many educational resources and still it's like just a ocean of resources. So it needs some skill set to find and evaluate. So which resources is best for us? And I think this session will help all the librarians, particularly the research scholars, about the evaluation and criteria of selecting the right educational resources. After this session, I think you can able to find that. So today I welcome Dr. Ilavalagan sir, and as a customary introduction of the resource person, I request Dr. Brahmanathan, librarian, Mahendra Engineering College, Namakkal district, to give a warm introduction about our resource person of the day. Brahmanathan, the screen is yours.
Thank you.
You can proceed, please.
The most respected my Mannin Maindan Professor Dr. P. Kulandevel, Vice Chancellor. Most respected Dr. K. Tangavel, Register. Most respected Dr. P. Karthikeyan, Principal, Brukas. My beloved sister Dr. K. S. Kalyani, Librarian, organizer of this one-day national webinar. Faculty member of Periyar University Constituent College of Arts and Science, Brukas, Paparitipatti. My well-wisher, my senior, Dr. A.M. Venkatachalam, Director, Libraries KSR Group of Institutions, Tiruchengodu, technical team of KSR Group of Institutions, and dear participants, a pleasant evening to all. I am blessed today to hold the honor of introducing today's webinar speaker. Leaders are made, they are not born. They are made by hard effort, which is the price which all of us must pay to achieve that is worthwhile. This is the quote I would like to attribute to our speaker, Dr. K. Ilavalagan, who is currently leading the Learning Resource Center of IIM Trichy as the Chief Knowledge Officer, Sir is a well-known personality in the field of library and information science. Previously, he was serving as the head of Kote Institute of German Library and assistant librarian of British Council Library. He obtained his doctorate from Annamalai University. He has a good number of research publications to his credit. He is a life member of Madras Library Association and Salis Manlipnet. He shoulders additional responsibilities both within and outside of his organization enthusiastically and willingly. He serves IIM Trichy as the Assistant Public Information Officer. He is the current president of SALIS, the renowned LIS professional body of India. He served as a subject expert in the Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, Department of Higher Education, MHRD, Government of India. He was awarded with Dr. Harish Chandra, Dr. Susila Chandra, National Best Librarian in the year 2017 by SALIS. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Best Librarian Award by Noolagam Pesugirathu in association with Kalam Sindhanai Peravai in the year 2016. 50 most influential knowledge management professionals by Global Knowledge Management Congress. Outstanding Contribution Award by British Council of India. Illavalagan sir is a very competent and vibrant LIS professional of the present century. He is a working and living example for the budding library professionals. He is for most of us. He is very active. His moves and actions are swifter and safer. He has an extra sense of thinking in all these plans, endeavors, and deliberations. He is very quick to respond to all kind of questions shot at him. His ideas are broad and global. His vision is viral and wide. I had the opportunity of listening to his lecturer since many years, and every time I used to be mesmerized by his presentation, the novelty in his lecturer presentation, the creative ideas it carries, the smooth flow of communication he has, the lateral thinking he offers, and the positive way he interacts with the audience. I should say these are all the few things that made most of us very good fan of his presentation, an efficient organizer of events, an energetic personality with 31 years of professional experience, a man of high intellectual, the professional with the human approach, hero of competing discussion, strong in consultation services, the man with out-of-box thinking, and what not. I am honored to welcome Dr. K. Illavalagan sir to this one-day national online webinar on open educational resources. I extend a wholehearted jubilant welcome to you, sir, not only on my own behalf of, but also on behalf of Periyar University Salem, Brookas Papiretipetti, and all the faculties from Brookas. As usual, we are waiting for a mind-blowing, thought-stimulating, and a storming presentation. Warm welcome you, sir.
Sir, we can make the screen visible.
Yeah, please. Is it okay?
We can share the screen. Sir. They are requesting the screen to be shared.
Are you able to see the screen now? I have
Can
shared
you
the
see the
screen.
screen now? Just wait, sir. I will tell you.
Yeah. இப்போ இந்த மாதிரி ஷேர் பண்ண சொல்லுங்களா?
Are you able to see the screen now?
No.
I have shared the screen.
So screen is yet to be shared, sir.
I have shared.
Sir, sir, Illavalagan sir, this is Venkatachalam.
Yes, Venkatachalam.
Sir, you stop the share and again you start, sir.
Okay, 1 minute. Are you able to share? Are you able to see now?
No, sir.
1 minute.
You stop the share and restart, sir, again. Share this, restart, sir.
The screen is yet to be shared, sir.
Is it okay?
Yeah, now it's sharing, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So now it is seen, sir. Now it is shared.
Am I audible first?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. Friends, very good evening. It's a pleasure and honor interacting with you through webinar today. And before I start my webinar, I would like to record my sincere thanks as well to the organizing secretary, Dr. Kalyani, the person who actually organizing the backbone of this program, Dr. Venkatachalam, and my dear friend Pranaman, friends from various institutions across the country, and students, very good evening. It's always a pleasure to interact with you face to face, but unfortunately Corona put us that we cannot actually interact face to face, but at least it allows us to interact through some other mode. So what I'll do is I'll be talking to you on open education resources. You might be wondering why we suddenly talk about educational resources. Number one, because educational resources are already available in the academic institutions. Because if you go to the academic institution, there is a prescribed syllabus. How many years, how many papers, what is your syllabus, and what material you have to refer, what material you have to study. So educational resources are already given by the academic institution. Whether you are studying in the school, colleges, universities, whatever that, including your research, there is a format. But suddenly we are talking about on the educational resources, and that too open educational resources, right? Why we talk about open educational resources today, or at least now? Is it really necessary that we have to talk about open educational resources? If it is essential, how it is going to help us? Whether it is really seriously create an impact on our educational pattern, or learning pattern, or teaching methodology, if it is going to do, how it is going to do, and how do I prepare myself to exploit the situation? If the open education resources are really going to help me, how do I use it? For what benefit I have to use it? So these are the questions that we will try to identify. Right, maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to make you understand what is open education resources. Many of you already aware what is open education resources. During my presentation, I tried to cover a couple of points, focusing why it's very important. When you are talking about why OER is important, then it's also important that you should know the licensing pattern, what type of license you have to use it. And while accessing these things, what are the challenges you are going to face, or currently what challenges you are facing, and how it is going to supplement to come out of those challenges. And if time permits, probably I'll try to help you how to create open education resources, because each one of you might be a teacher or researcher. You have the talent, you have the good resources, you have a good experience of conducting research, and those research has to be documented. It can be shared through openly so that the whole community can get benefited. That was an idea why we need to create open education resources, so that the whole community will benefited what you have experienced during your research program or teaching program or training program. That was the basic idea. Right, when we talk about open access, what is open access? And then what content actually available? Whether the content only for an education resources, it is only print media or digital media. If it is digital media, in what format it is available, whether it is interactive, only downloadable, what are the content available, and whether I can actually use the course material instead of going to the college. Why should I go to the college wasting 4 hours? Rather, what I will do is, if the course is available on the net at the free of cost, rather than going to the college, better I can actually, one is I need to pay money, then I get the seat, then I have to go for the particular timings. It may not be convenient. I have to travel quite a lot. Rather, the same is available freely at my doorstep. I will not go there. What I can do is I can actually go study open course. And there are software and which is freely available, because whatever that software which we are using or which we are planning to use for our lifestyle, then all those things are commercial, which we cannot afford to buy. So if it is freely available, why should I actually waste my money on those things? And then if the learning is coming through open, instead of actually formal face-to-face interaction, formal learning, classroom discussion, if it is going to be a e-learning process, then how do you actually get benefit? And what are the material it is going to support all those issues? All right, in simple term, the material which are freely available for academic purpose, training purpose, research purpose, that we call it as an open education resources. The material which can be used for a teaching purpose, a delivering content to the student, maybe face-to-face delivery, or maybe through online mode, or whatever the mode you want, whatever the mode you want to deliver the content for teaching purpose, to teaching a student. So that material, what we call open educational resources. It is meant only for an education purpose. The same material can be used as a student because the faculty can use it for teaching purpose. As a student, you can also use the same material for your learning purpose, because academic institutions or academic community mostly revolve 2-3 parameters. One is an academic community involves the teachers who teaches or deliver the content. The second person who is the student who actually receive and use for the career growth. And third party may be a very small number research community. There are researchers working in the academic community. They also try to use this free material for the training purpose or the research purpose. So these are the material meant for a particular group of people. So we call it as open education resources, which can be used freely, which can be modified, which can be distributed, which can be mixed with other content. You need not use as it is. If you think that you want to modify, you can take the material, modify, and then according to your convenience, tailor-made it and then use it. So it is possible that way you want to access, the way you want to deliver, it is possible. That is why it is called it as open educational resources. Right. Now, mainly this material, most of us thinking that open education material, open education resources are a course material. It may be a syllabus or it may be a lectures. It is not that. If this is the one, then I need not go to these open educational resources. The same material, syllabus, lectures, question papers, course modules, full course, all those things are available on the internet in different platforms. But the very important thing is, if you are the science student, where you can get the laboratory notes, laboratory methods, as data sets, and other important materials, there I think probably you can get it. And then first-hand classroom activities, because you will not get the feel of the classroom activities. When you start actually learning through online, you will be missing the face-to-face interaction. You will not have that classroom atmosphere, because that is very important, where actually socialization happening within the classroom only, not through the online. So what you can do is, you have the feel of the actual classroom, which is free materials are available on the OER. And today, of late, we started, because the methodology what we are using in the classroom is outdated. Normally, the teachers will actually deliver the content through that lecture mode. I think lecture modes are no more valid. It is valid to some extent. It is not actually 100% going to be used. So how do I engage my student? Now, normally what we do is, when the students goes out, what he need other than this course material, other than this domain knowledge, what is that he need? He need life skills. He needs soft skills, what we call the soft skills. And he also expert in the technology, because he is anyway connected with the technology. Without technology, he cannot apply what he studied in the school or colleges. So obviously, he need the combination of 3 important things when he go out of the college. During my college days, I studied a particular subject. It made me an expert, so that when I go that, I can tell that I am the master of this particular subject, master of chemistry, master of English. So I say that I am the master. So that 2 years helping me to say that I am master in a particular domain. But will that be enough for me to get an employment opportunity? The biggest question is no. Answer is no. Then what is that? So when you gain knowledge in the face-to-face interaction in the classroom, through the lecture mode mostly, what you need is, you also need to develop your skill set, which is really going to help you when you go outside for an employment opportunity, or when you want to really decide to open your own business, when you want to interact with the outside world. So very importantly, more than your domain knowledge, your subject knowledge, what you call it as the hard skill, you also equally need an important life skills, which may be your socialization, which may be your collaborative skill, which may be your negotiation skill, which may be your communication skill, which may be your relationship building skill, which may be your networking skill, whatever that, the skill which you want to tell, it is all, it's there with us. Only thing is we have to identify where we have to use, how we have to use effectively when I want a career development. So this is another important future we need before we go after the college. And third important thing is that technology, because technology, without technology we can't live, because we are living in industry 4.0. Mostly the machine going to play a major role than the human beings. Therefore, what we need to do is we have to go along with the technology. We cannot be ignorance of the technology. So 3 important things. Now, what is happening in the classroom where I miserably fail? I'll get only marks. I'm not able to understand the concept. When I go to the interview, I'm not able to give a practical solution. When the company asks you questions, I'm not able to give a practical question. Or when I study agriculture, when I go to my own farm, I'm not able to actually do properly the proper agriculture activity. Whereas my father can able to do that because he has got an experience. I don't have experience because I gain only the theoretical knowledge, because most of our lecture methods are based on the theoretical base. Now, these things are slightly changing. Now, the students, the faculty will not come and then deliver the lecture. That is not the job. It is your responsibility. It's the students has to study a particular concept. Tomorrow, if there is a class, you don't expect that faculty will come and then deliver that concept, the theory. It is your responsibility. If you are the student, it is your responsibility that you have to study the concept. And every one of you have to study the concept and come to the classroom. The teacher will facilitate. He will not actually teach anything. He will facilitate that how do you understand that particular concept. So every one of you have the different way of understanding the same concept. Concept is same. When the teacher deliver, he will actually deliver one version of the concept. So every one of us will understand only one way of the concept. Now, when everyone actually study on their own, I have a different version of the same concept. X will have the different version. When I want to come to the class and then collaborate, and then each one of will have the different version of the same concept. For example, 1 + 1 = 2. How we arrived. Tomorrow, when I come to the class, I say it is not right. It may be wrong. I can prove. I can able to prove that 1 + 1 = not 2. It may be 3. So each one of us will have the different idea of understanding the same concept. What we call it as collaborative learning. Now, the teachers who actually teaching the classroom, we understand the very important part of the learning process is collaborative learning. So you have to facilitate your student, make sure that actually they understand the concept through the collaborative learning process. Now, all those things are actually available in the open educational resources. When you go for the face-to-face, theoretical based lecture mode only available, where I can gain one set of knowledge. I'm not able to see the different dimension of the particular knowledge base. The moment I go and access and collaborate with my friends, and then the teacher actually give the clarity on the subject, then probably I can able to get better understanding of the subject. And when I go outside, I can able to stand on the crowd. For that, what we use is that not only the open education material pedagogy, and also we use different games, simulations, and there are many resources. These resources, if you really institute want to access, want to subscribe to the student, it is enormous amount involved. Therefore, material which is when it is available freely, then probably we try to exploit it. Right, let us come back to the real situation rather than something talking in very theoretical format. So every one of us have the habit of accessing, consuming, not only accessing the information, we consume the information. And once if you access, you consume, you understand, and either you store wherever you are convenient place, or you can actually reproduce a same format or modify, and you are sharing the different format. For example, you are using WhatsApp. You are getting messages. The message will be duplicate message. Same message will be coming in a different format from different sources, different friends. Forget about it. Now, the moment you get the information, what normally we do, if it is interested, then probably I'll access, then I will actually read it, I'll understand it, then I feel that this information may be useful, I can actually share it, or I can store it, or I can use it for some other purpose. Now, what is happening? The face-to-face interaction happening. Most of us are more familiar with face-to-face interactions. All our school kids, college students, higher education students, the research community are more familiar with the face-to-face interaction. We have the habit of going to the college, studying there, meeting the faculty, meeting the students, going to the laboratory, doing the experiment, and then gain knowledge. This is what normally we do. We never expected that these type of things will come to us and halt our whole process. Now what is happening? Suddenly the pandemic come, and it is not allowing us to do anything rather than sitting at the home doing these type of webinars. Now, but my studies get actually completely disturbed. How do I come out of it? 3 months you cannot regain. Whatever that actually the teacher is going to teach next 9 months, definitely it is going to be an additional burden. I don't want to take an additional burden. What do I do? It is not for you. Entire country, entire world actually suffered because of the pandemic. In India alone, at least 32 crore students actually hit. They are not able to go to the college. They are not able to study. Now, what is happening? Of late, we decided to provide the teaching through online method. Now, we try to find out some kind of solution, saying that instead of wasting our time, rather we try to use other tools and techniques to teach the students, not the face-to-face. So today it has come. Today it is actually a corona. Tomorrow we don't know what is going to come. So the face-to-face interaction may not have a value after some time because it may completely vanish or it may partially vanish. So we should be ready for that. It's an indication for us. Now this actually helping us or giving an indication or giving a kind of guideline. Look, you cannot actually depend on only one source face-to-face interaction. If you really want to go up, you don't want to waste 3 months, then probably you need to look for alternative sources which equally give you a good amount of a knowledge base to you, your subject area. Then there it is coming. The open education resources are really coming in handy. You don't wait for your faculty come and teach pedagogy because you know what is the semester you are going to study, what papers you are going to study, what is the reference material you need. I think materials are freely available. Only thing is you have to interact with your own students. If you're not very clear when you study on your own, then probably a group of people can through online chat, through the online community, you can actually chat, you can get clarity. Then probably it is much easier the way you are learning. Because so far we were thinking that learning is a particular period. I go to the college to study. Generally, my learning process will start at the age of 3 or 4 and then will complete at 24. After 23, 24, generally, many of us not going for higher educations. We start at the age of 3 or 4 and then go to the school, high schools, higher secondary school, college, and universities. Then there we stop. Then we look for a career opportunity. We'll go for the job. After job, then we try to actually go up in the ladder of the career growth, not studying. But now things are completely changed. You cannot ignore that my period of time is only 24 years or 23 years. It is not like that. It is going to be a lifelong learning. Understand, your learning cannot be completed in 23 years. Even if you get the job, there is no guarantee that the job going to be there. Therefore, you need to actually continue your learning process. It is never going to be stopped because the jobs are fluid in nature and you may get these type of issues. So how do you come out of it? Therefore, the OEU are coming in a very good way. Now, it is not just only the education sector getting affected. I think the whole country, the whole humankind has been completely affected. Not only the humankind, even these other living things, for example, cow, cattle, they also get affected because of the pandemic. Now, how do we actually help? There are a lot of job losses. Already country which is facing a huge problem of unemployment. We have enormous number of colleges, enormous number of higher education students, and employment is the problem. Now the pandemic has come, it also stopped our employment. We don't know how the economy going to come up. The job, not only in India, outside India, we may not have a chance. So how do I face it? What do I need to do that? In what way the OEU are going to help us? I think OEU are really going to play a major role to address these issues very minorly, not very majorly, but definitely it is also handy to help. Now, it is before the pandemic. It is not necessarily a pandemic creating a major problem. It is a prolonging problem than employment because of the technology inventions and innovations, the interventions and disruptions. Now, technology actually made our life more miserable than anything else, particularly in the field of employment. Not only it's employment, it is many fields. It actually disturbs us because it actually making us to think tomorrow's work today. You should not do tomorrow's work tomorrow. You have to do tomorrow's work today. That is the way that actually the distractions are happening. But are we ready? We are not even doing our today's work today. And whereas the expectation is completely different. You have to do tomorrow's work today. If you fail to do that, probably we will be in trouble. That is why we are talking about unemployment rates is going up, because we are not understanding the urgency. What do I do now? What you need to do is also you have to understand how the reality exists, how it is going to the future going to be. For instance, all our educations are aiming for making a good citizen, making a good person, making a good human being. Generally, when we want to do, normally we do the education actually help us to enhance our knowledge. The knowledge can be shared to the human society, and this can be help the country and then common man's. Now, when your academic institution take research activities, what normally do? Why do they do research? Research is the process mainly focusing on three important areas. It may be helping for a particular universe, or it may be helping for a particular domain. For instance, when I do research, why should I do the research? The research is really going to help us the addressing common man's problem, or it may be giving a new dimension of the existing knowledge. It is also helping the progress of the humankind. And that is why we normally do the research. And the moment you say that research output, how the output will come? In, for example, if you are actually doing research in the area of science and technology or pure science, then the output may be in the form of invention or innovations, maybe new product and services. For example, these are the output of the research. We are so far using car which is operated by the diesel and petrol. So there is a possibility that we can actually use lithium batteries, battery operated cars. Now, what is the advantage? How it is going to benefit the country? How it the common man? It is the research output where the academician thinks, the researcher thinks, and it is an output which is really going to help us, the human being who actually facing the day-to-day problem through the environmental issue. When we start using the petroleum products, diesel products, coal to generate electricity, transport something, running the industry, we normally use coal, water, and then we generate electricity. We may actually import a lot of petroleum products from outside. The moment you start importing something from outside, whether it's a military, whether it's a diesel, whether it's a medicine, whether it is an infrastructure material, we are actually importing more. Our exporting capacity has come. It's actually not up to the mark. It's a country which has the maximum number of population, huge infrastructure, huge knowledge base. In spite of all those things, we are begging. We are actually expecting someone has to import the technology. Someone has to give the help to us to do our own work. Why? We never do research in the name of research. There, I think it is going to help us. The open educational resources is an eye opener for us to do the quality ethical research. I'll come a little later. Now, coming to this slide. Now, it's a research output because we are facing the problem of environmental issue. We don't have the proper drinking water. We are not able to breathe properly because the oxygen, there is no proper oxygen. The air is polluted. Water is polluted because we have done enough for the Mother Earth. Now, what is the alternative? If you really want to reduce the carbon emission, because all those things are mainly because of the carbon emission, the wastage goes to the sea, wastage goes to the earth. It is completely spoiled. We cannot actually reuse it. So we try to minimize it. Now we have to stop doing that. The alternative could be try to avoid emitting carbons. So what is the alternative? One, the moment you use petroleum products, you have to import. When you start importing, your money goes to the outside country. The moment your money goes out, your value has come down because we are expecting something from outside to generate new. So therefore, you don't have the money to spend for your own people who are actually starving or looking for employment opportunity. They are actually getting in the poverty. So if you really want to eliminate all those things, first and then foremost thing, we think about the research output has to help us self-sustainable. We should not import many things. We can import few things, not many things. Now that is where the research going to help us. Now this, for example, if the battery is going to operated by lithium or solar, now what is happening? I don't want to first import the crude oil from outside. That means I can save the money, because the energy I can generate through wind or the solar, which is freely available in India. At least 10 months we can able to get solar energy, and throughout the year you can able to get the wind energy across the coastal area. India is surrounded at least three places, three dimensions is sea. We can able to get the wind energy throughout the year. So 10 months you can able to get solar energy, 12 months you can able to get wind energy. Instead of actually taking coal, instead of you're taking water for generating electricity, instead of importing oil from outside country, what we can do is it's freely available, one, so that you can save the money can be used for good cause for the citizens. One second thing is, it is also helpful for us. It never actually harmful. It will not actually emit any carbon, so that the mother earth can be saved, pollution can be come down. So that is why this research has been carried out, and we try to introduce these type of things. But unfortunately, what is happening, the moment you bring these things, it will create another problem, because there is a connection between open education resources and then the research output. What is the problem it creates? It is really helping us, because now this is a best solution that can solve the pollution problem. We need not spend money for electricity generation, because it's mostly freely. Instead of pay 3 rupees per unit electricity charge, I can pay only 10 paise for the electricity. I can lavishly use the electricity for any purpose. It is agriculture purpose, industry purpose, or any other purpose, so that I can actually, my production will be more, because the electricity is available at a minimum cost. It's a good only. Where is the bad thing comes? Now issue comes in different format. It is really going to hit us heavily. How? If you are actually bringing this type of electricity car, for example, your aeroplanes are operated through fuel, your ships are operated through the fuel which is imported from other country, your industries are operated or actually functioning through these type of oils, your four-wheeler, two-wheeler, all those things are running these things. All the machines are actually manufactured to use only the oil, whether it's a jet, whether it is a ship, whether it is a car, whether it's a train. All those engines are designed use only the petroleum products. Now suddenly if you stop, you don't want to use the petroleum products, first thing is it will create an employment problem, uncertainty among the youngsters. How? I studied 4 years aeronautical engineering, thinking that aeronautical engineering will help me to get the pilot or aeroplane or aircraft maintenance job, because it is the machines are actually designed to use or will be used the petroleum products. Suddenly all those engines will be removed, and then we can fit into solar energy operated machines or engines. Then what will happen? I studied only, I'm more familiar with the diesel engine machines. Now suddenly you fit into that, I'm not. How do I actually enhance my knowledge? Now people who studied mechanical engineering, people who studied in these colleges, for example, people who studies in nursing, now suddenly new things comes, then it will also create, because a new product, new innovation really going to help us in the future. But unfortunately it also create problem in the immediate future. So far, for example, we put a lot of manual effort to do our works. Any kind of activity if I want to do, the man intervention will be more than the machine intervention or machine support. Now if I want to actually do agriculture, generally initially I might be using more bullocks or cow to plow my field, or maybe tractor, and again the operator will be the human being. Now what is happening? The machines, now I can give the instruction to my truck saying that you have to go at this speed, plow this field, and then you have to, depth should be there. I can actually program all those things and then operate my machine sitting in my own place. I can just do it remotely. It can go and then do what the work I want to do it. Now what happened to the man who actually expert on the field plowing? Similarly, the person who studied in the college for 4 years nursing, 5 years degree, and they think that they can actually get job in the hospitals helping the patients or cleaning the wound, assisting the doctors during the surgery. Now the machine going to play a major role instead of the nurse. The work can be easily carried out by the robot. There is no need that a nurse can do that. Nurse can need not actually be there to clean the wound, giving the medicine to the patient, assisting the doctors during the surgery. It will do all those things. You only thing is you have to give the proper instruction to the robot. You program it properly. Error free. It's error free actually. So you can able to do that. Now what is happening is the person who studied nursing, his job is not going to be there, or unemployment issue is going to be there. So now issue is one side the technology actually helping us, and other side technology also creating problem. The research is giving good results, but at the same time it also create another kind of issues. This is the balance. This is the way it will be working. It will go. So how do we actually meet these challenges? How do I come out of these things? For example, I studied nursing. I have no other option. So how do I come out of it? When I go out after 4 years, I am not able to get my job because the job is not there. It is taken by the robot. So what do I do now? That is why the OE are going to play a major role. It is not necessarily 4 years you study only your subject. Also, the OER will give an opportunity to study the way you want to study, which you have interest. For example, the nurse may be interested in music. She may be an artist. She may be a service-oriented person. That actually going to help. If this job is not there, the other job is there. So it is not necessarily that I can stick to only one job, because the jobs are going to be fluid in nature. It is not going to be permanent forever. So what important thing is the open education resources going to support and help us to come out of these practical issues when we are going to face it. We are talking about these are the things going to come in future. So we should be ready. Now what I need to do is I have to focus where I have to focus. Even though I'm studying literature student, I may be economic students. What is the thing that I have to prepare? I study economics. Along with economics, I also need to study. Also, I need to get some kind of skill on different areas. Now, very importantly, we have to understand. Now, so far, I told you that we have to learn a particular period. For example, if it is a college, it is a 3-year program or 4-year program, 5-year program. And then after your undergraduation, you can go for the post-graduation. Then you can go for the research. There you stop. Then you can think about the development. You have to go as a lecturer, or you may go as a clerk, you may go as a manager. Whatever the position you are getting, then you'll go there. And then we'll look after only our career growth. I have to go up and up in my job. I don't bother about the learning process because my learning is over. My studying is over at the college or university level. That is what so far we are thinking. But if that is the thinking, then probably we are going to be in deep trouble in the near future. So how do I come out of it? The first thing is, first you have to learn. The way we are learning is not learning. We are not learning properly. First, one, understand. And second important thing is learning is not a specific activity for a specific period. It is going to be a lifelong learning. It is not going to be an end, a particular period. And learning is not going to be a specific, a particular area. The area may be different based on your interest. And second important thing is you also should know how to unlearn, because learning is much easier when compared with unlearning. Unlearning is very, very difficult. For example, like you want to give the medicine. Doctor want to give medicine to the patient. When he gives the patient the medicine, when you are taking the medicine, don't think monkey. Generally, these are the things that we used to tell. He made it very clear. Doctor giving the medicine to the patient and saying that when you are taking the medicine, don't think monkey. Whenever he take the medicine, he will immediately remember only the monkey. He never actually, because if you are not telling, he will not never actually think about the monkey. The moment you say that don't remember, then we will automatically register here and it will automatically come back. But unlearning is very, very difficult because that is an important. If you really unlearn, then you can allow to learn new things. Unless you unlearn, you cannot learn new things. When you can learn new things, learning new things, when you are actually unlearning. That's important. And very important thing is relearn. It is not just only learning and unlearning. Also, you should have the interest and capability of relearning the whole thing. That's important. So this is going to have a lifelong learning. A learning may be a particular part, then you should be unlearn what you have learned so that you can accommodate the new learning process, and also you should be in a position to relearn. Right. Now these three component is very important when you do that. Now if I want to do that, now why I should actually learn, relearn, unlearn? So far nothing has been happened. Only learning has been happened, and then it gives me a job. Then I can settle my life. I can take care of something else rather than actually just spending time all of my life on the career, the studying or learning. What? Because the thing is, things are getting fluid in nature. You should be prepared for the multiple career direction. Because if one job is not there, then forget about this job. You can go to the next job. Because this job is not there, I'll go to the next job. If the next job is there, I'll go to another job. So you should be prepared for the future, because future going to be not depend on only one job, multiple jobs. If you think that it is one job is going to help you forever until you die, it is not going to help you at all. You have to prepare yourself for multiple jobs. For example, you may be an engineer, or you may be a chemist, you may be a physician, you may be a physics student, but you should actually learn the one which you are interested. For example, you may be interested in sports, you may be interested in actually helping others, you may be interested in music. So whichever actually, for example, you may be interested in creating animations. What is your interest? You carry out your study. At the same time, also you can take your interest. That also you think that that is going to give an additional support when this job is taken out from you. Then that is going to help you, because all the jobs are fluid in nature. Nothing is permanent. So the learning process is going to be more complicated than we expected or what we think today. The future of learning going to be very, very important. The way you are actually learning is matter. That actually going to help you when you are going for outside world to get employment. Now, what is important, as I told you at the beginning, the content what you study in the classroom, 3 year, 4 year, whatever it is, that is important. How do we study? We have to understand the concept thoroughly, and you should have the complete confidence what I have studied. Unless you have the mark is not going to help you at all. Mark is just sake. It is not going to help you at all. That everybody knows. But what is important? The moment I study BSc chemistry or botany, BSc botany or zoology, whatever it is, I should be thorough on my subject, what I studied during the 3 year course. Or if I'm not thorough, at least after sometimes I have to sit and then study what I have studied. Am I really have this, what the degree is, what for me, what I studied, what I have? That's important. The first thing is content. And second important thing is, as I told you, the skill. The skill is with you. You don't worry about it. Very importantly, you should not be a shy guy. You have to be more and more proactively work with all the people, because it is going to be a network community. You have to build the relationship. You have to actually expand your network. That's going to help you for many purposes. And also I get, yes, I have the content, good content, I have the good degree, I have the good exposure of my subject, and also I have the good skill set. What else I need? Also, you need some kind of training. How you can apply in the practical place, whatever that I learned. For example, I studied economics. Now, this economics just not only theoretical part. How the economic study can be applied when you go outside. Suppose if you are posted in the banking, what you studied, how you can apply when the banks are facing crisis. That's important. For example, if you are the student of administration, public administration, for instance, now how actually you can able to apply your public administration skill. For example, now the migrant laborers are going during the corona by walk, by cycle, by our government facilitate. They face a lot of hardship. Now how this problem can be solved? Because this actually come from your studies. You have to apply whatever that you study. Some theory can help you. If people are actually not consuming alcohol for 30 days, 40 days, what is the alternative they do? They try to actually get alternative liquor, and then they take, and then they die. So your actually theory can do all those things, help you. Now how you can apply those theories in the practical situation? You may study BA history, but how the BA history can help you in practical ways? For example, there are a lot of actually museums, colleges, we are having all those things. There are a lot of temples destroyed when it was started. You can write a paper on that. That will actually give sensational news to the newspapers. That actually give you money. Now, important thing is, whatever that you studied, whether it is a history, whether it is a Tamil, whether it is any subject, whatever the subject, don't think that only engineering and then medicine can give the value. Whatever the subject you study, how you study is important. For example, I studied only Tamil. How do I get an employment opportunity? Simple reason. There are people who actually live in Singapore, Malaysia. They don't know Tamil. They are Tamilians. There are some of the African countries. People are in Tamils. They don't know how to do that. You can actually interact with them, help them how to actually learn Tamil. They will actually give the money. So there are a lot of avenues for employment. What is important thing is you should have the complete thorough content and skill how to deliver, and also you have to the exposure, experience in the training. That's an important. Also you should have the habit and interest of self-learning. Unless you have the self-learning interest, I don't think nothing can be done. And all those things are done in a very fast way. You should not think that, okay, I learn it tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Then by the time things will go out, somebody else will do the same thing. He will grab the job. He will do that activity and you will be behind him. So therefore, what important thing is studies and skills and then training exposure, also your continuous learning. It also not matter. Also the how fastly you are doing all those things the matter. That actually going to help you. And the traditional degrees may not help you. Traditional degree, when you go outside, traditional degree will help to some extent. Then what is important? You should have some kind of certification. For example, I am the student of geography. Now what I'll do is I will actually go with the degree outside world with some of this material available on the open source, or some of the course actually delivered through online mode from outside universities. I can get some degree, some exposure. For example, I am the geology student, geography student. I can able to support your activities. For example, water. People are trying to gauge where the water is available. The geology students, geography students can able to help with the additional knowledge which they gain through the open courseware. So what you need to do is, when you are studying your own degree, you can also study relevant information which is going to help you near future for employment. So that the employer will look, okay, this guy has a degree as well as an additional content or additional certificate on the same subject, which is really going to help my company or my profession, then I can do that. For example, if you are the farmer, I have the 5-acre land. You are actually able to do that by experience. You and your father know that you are actually producing lot of farm products, but you don't know how to market it. Only the middleman eating everything. So how to avoid it? There are a lot of actually opportunities available online. How do I market? Where to market? Only thing is all those things are freely available. The courses you have to learn. I am the agriculture guy. I actually have 5-year learn, and then I'm producing this particular product, organic product. Now I want to learn how to import, how to export. It is a completely different altogether subject. So what you need to do is you have to identify the course which is really going to help you to import or export your product outside. That course will help you give the guidelines how you can do that. Now you studied agriculture and also you studied marketing. That is going to help you when you go for outside. Now, how do I use it? If I am a teacher, I want to use the open course material for my students' benefit. How do I do that? That's a fundamental question normally a teacher will ask. Now, when we talk about the courses, there are 5 R's we normally use. One is called retain. Whatever the material which is there, you retain forever, because at one day it is really going to help you. If you want to use it, again you want to use it, please reuse it for your own purpose. And you can actually revisit once again. If you want to modify over the period of time, now you are actually teaching the student, first year student. And when you actually moving to the second year student, the concept is slightly advanced. So you modify the content and then use it. Now third is you want to give some practical exposure to them. So what you need to do is the content you have taken, you can mix it with something else. You need not use as it is. You can actually remix it. You can put something else and then make it more interactive. Now, when we do the classroom teaching, what normally we do, we never go for the lecture mode. We allow students to do some kind of activities. They have to do some games. They have to go outside and then do some activities. Or we may, when we are actually even preparing the PPT, it is not only pictures and then text. We may sometimes we'll put the audios, video clippings. Why you mix it? So that will attract and give additional benefits to the students when you are teaching. It will be more effective teaching. And also you try to redistribute what you have actually studied. The most important thing why I have to focus more on open education resources today is, one, as I told you, I am the student just studied only Tamil, B.Ed literature Tamil. I think that I will not get job. That is not true. You need to understand how to actually, where are the students are looking for Tamil studying things through online. One minute, I'll just come, please. No, yeah, urgent appa. சொல்லுப்பா, டக்குன்னு சொல்லு. நான் வரேன். So what we need to do is, if I am the Tamil actually literature student, I need not actually wait in India for opportunity to teach my student. I may not have an opportunity, but I have the bright opportunity outside. So what I need to do is how I can be able to take classes, coach the students who is sitting outside India. That technology, that exposure, that actually I need. Where will I get it? Maybe from the open course will give the material, or that will give a guidance, that will give an opportunity. What you need to do is you will get additional information which actually can help you when you are going for work. There are workers, for example, if you are the person who is working in the college, you are more familiar with only the pedagogy through the theoretical method. What you can do is when you go to the OER, it will actually give different way of teaching methodology. Maybe instead of just talking to the students, you can give the activity, you can use some tools, you can use some kind of other mode of teaching. Ask the students to study before come to the classroom, what we call the flipped classroom. So there are many additional information. As a teacher, you will get it. As a librarian, what you can do is you will get lot of quality, because students today are struggling and researchers are struggling to get the quality content, because we are able to identify the quality content. Being the librarian who support the academic and research community, you can able to support those students. You identify which information is available, where it is available, which is relevant for whom. Then you can try to deliver those information. People will be recognizing you, people will be benefited. Institution also recognize what your services rendering to the academic community. So there are additional information. Only thing is we have to identify, because most of us are actually misguided by the fake information, overloaded information, fabricated information. So like being a librarian, most probably you can able to identify the authentic sources. Even if it is an open source, you can able to tell the student and then academic community which is the right one, when you can able to access, how you can able to access, what are the tools and then techniques you have to use access, and how quickly you can able to do it, what are the implications when you are using it, reusing it, because there are other implications. You just like that can't use all the material as you think, because there are copyright issues are there. So we need to educate those people, academic community, saying that this material is meant for this particular purpose. You cannot use it for commercial purpose, only for the research and academic purpose you can use it. To what extent you can use it, all those things probably you can advocate, because they may not be know how to use it, where to use, how to use it. But being a librarian or information professional, you are the master in that, because they may be master in the subject, but they may not be master in accessing, using, reusing, delivering the materials. But you being, you are an expert on that, probably you can able to support those people, how you can able to access, where the material is available, how you can able to get it, how do you can remix it, to whom you want to give, and when you want to give. All those things you can advocate. That's important. That actually help you connecting many people, because today what we need is connecting people is most important. It is the network world. It's a relationship building's most powerful tool than anything else. So you should know all the people. Then probably OER is the real platform which gives an opportunity for you to connect many people different ways. People have the same interest. I may be a chemistry student, I can connect with the chemistry student, but though I am the chemistry student, I'll be interested in photography. What I can do is I can connect with the person who is interested in photography. He will be an engineering student. So what is happening, my connection will goes in different direction, which will actually give new kind of ideas, knowledge to us. Who is actually providing this? Because open education resources will give different type of opportunities for all the people. Now learning becoming a lifelong learning, that's what I said. Let me just check the timing. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Lifelong learning, it's endless. There is no end for learning process. It is going to be forever till we die. And learning new skill is an important thing. If you really want to survive, if you really want to fit into a position, then probably we need to prepare for the future. Whether you like it or not, you have to study other things. Maybe your hobby, you can improve your hobby. That may be a passion will help you the next job. So what you need to do is learn. The way you want to learn has to be changed. You have to learn in a social way. I think Corona really helping us how we have to learn things in a social way. That is going to be the future of. And therefore, you have to know how to learn, how to relearn, how to unlearn in a very social way. That's an important. and learning going to be forever, and that actually helping you to provide new skill, new inspiration, and connect more people, and also you can share people who are interested what you have interest. So that's an important thing. As I told you, the material which is available freely on the net cannot be used without permission, without referring, or without giving the credit. Now, what material I can use? Nothing is freely available on the world. There is some cost inbuilt in between. We may not know the hidden cost, but there is a cost for everything. So nothing is available freely. But there are material available freely. I can able to use it and then reuse it. I can actually distribute it. Who is going to do that? Who is going to stop? Yes, you can be stopped. It is punishable by law. It's an offense. It's a criminal offense, because the copyright, what we say is, somebody creates some material without their permission. If you start using it, it is an act. Copyright act. Act cannot be violated. If act is violated, then government can take action against us. That actually taking you the legal procedure, and finally can you put you into the jail. We can get punishment from the government if you are violating the law. A copyright is the law. The material which comes under the copyright, you cannot use freely without understanding the implication. So first important thing, material. Whether material may be book, or it may be an article, it may be image, it may be music, it may be a video caption, or it may be something else, a data set or company product, anything, whatever it is. If it is freely available, don't download first. First understand what is the copyright there, whether I can download, if it is downloadable, whether I can use it, if it is I can use, whether I can use only partial or I can use fully, if it is partially used, whether I can actually reproduce it, if it is reproducible. For example, I am the faculty, I want to teach my student, I download the particular, I want to distribute to all my students, you are distributing. If you are downloading only one copy, okay, in some cases it is allowed for your purpose and research purpose. But if you want to distribute, you may not have the permissions. So then you have to see whether I have the permission. If I have the permission, what type of permission I have, to whom I can distribute. If it is an academic community, it may be allowed. You can distribute the material to the students and then researchers. But if I want to use it for commercial purpose, there are books are available freely. I want to download and then print and then sell it, whether it is possible. Yes, it is possible to some extent with the copyright. There are many avenues. Materials are freely available, but which one I can use it for commercial purpose, which one I can use it for education purpose, which one I can use as it is, which one I can able to modify, reuse it so that I can attract more things. There are certain license I can modify. So these are all the some of the implications. It is not necessarily for your education material. Anything if you want to use. China is actually making a lot of duplicate. How do they duplicate? And we also make a lot of duplicate. There is no ethical path. There is no quality. For example, electricity material, which is life, and medicine. When we are actually using medicine, we are also getting medicine the cheaper cost, higher cost. We don't know the combinations, but we start actually consuming without doctor advice. Now we have to understand which one I have to use, which one. For example, self-medication, we normally do that. All those things has to be a little careful. So the material which is freely available has to be properly evaluated and check the restriction, check the rights, then you can use it. Right? I'm not going here. Now, why suddenly we are talking about the open education resources? Where it is coming? So far, till I come to this lecture, I never bothered about there is something called OER. Suddenly, this has come up as a boom. Why? The reason is there are trends. For example, cost of higher education. If I want to go to the college, now today, if India might be having 993 higher education institutions, including centrally funded technical institutions. That's right. 40,000 colleges offering degrees and diplomas. That's fine. But when I want to study a particular course, it is very expensive. I have to go the management quota where I cannot afford to pay for it. So what is happening? The cost becoming more. So that is going to play a major role. I cannot afford to pay my higher education fees. Today it may be less, tomorrow it may be more. So what is going to happen? Now, right, even if I actually pay the huge money after getting some loan and other things, will I be get a job? Is there any guarantee after 4 years, 3 years, will I be get the job? There is no guarantee that you will get definitely job, because I invested huge money on my education, 3-year time, and then a lot of money I invested, and then I get the degree. because it must give some kind of return to me, because we are always looking for return on investment. Because an investment for me, it is investment for 3 years or 4 years and also money. So I am expecting some kind of in a return. What is the return? Employment opportunity. Will I be able to get it? So I have to think all those things make multiple things. For example, climate change, the changes, the employment scenario completely changed because of artificial intelligence or industry 4.0. Machine going to play a major role. Most of the traditional jobs will be taken care of the machines because the climate is changed. Employment opportunities are completely distracted. So if this is the case, really, do I need to go to the college and get the degree and then waste my time as well as money? So these are the situations which are actually forcing us to go for open educational resources, open courses which are available freely. Instead of wasting my time 3 years, I can do some part-time job and then I can study the same course which is freely available outside university, which is really given by the good university degree. Then I can go and then get the degree. 3 years I can able to earn money. Then I'll go outside. The degree is equivalent to the same degree what I study in the regular classes. Instead of going regular, I'll wasting my money. I'll go there and then study and then get the degree, looking for an opportunity with the minimum cost. So that is the change. And another important thing is I need not go to the college, particularly women students finding very difficult, people who studies in the remote area. For you may be easy to get an education, but there are people who really struggling, northeast, people who lives in northeast, hill stations, people who lives in islands. For them, education is not quality. I'm talking about the quality education. They can get an education, but they won't get the quality teacher because quality teachers are not willing to go there. So what do I do now? So that technology really creating a different environment altogether. Now people are more and more interested learning through digital format. Therefore, I think learning going to be a different format. So it gives really good opportunity. The open education resources opening a new avenue for people who deprive for those things. Now, other important thing is the higher education trend that also making a lot of changes. And there are government is not willing to give money for education sector. These are all the reasons why we need to go for study through these online courses. Because online courses have the equal weightage. Therefore, instead of actually wasting my money, better I'll go to the college. Instead of going to the college, I'll go there and then do it. And also it gives a wider opportunity, because if it is the classroom interactions, it is just only the faculty, whatever the in-depth knowledge he has got, he can deliver, not more than that. Unless he use other tools and techniques, I cannot gain anything. But if I start using open education resources, I can able to get lot of other materials, supplement materials, which I never have experienced. For example, I never thought about simulation. Simulation is nothing but previous those days people really want to find out water. If you go to the person in the village, they know exactly, they will take a stick or they'll take a coconut and then they will go to the field, find out where the water is available. They will not dig there, but they can able to find out. It's a kind of simulation. They can able to get which place they can actually get. Now all those things are coming in the different format. If I want to do the surgery, if I want to do some kind of business, whether I can able to export fish, now when I have to do that, if it is going to get profit, how much of profit I'll get if I do it now, if I do later, if all the people are coming, what is the business share I will get it. So it will actually stimulate the situation, helping you. So these are all the software tools actually available. Now students need to use it. Now when we never have an opportunity to do all those things. Now, but this open education materials giving an opportunity for us to do all those things. When we talk about open education resources, it is not necessarily the courses which I am going to learn. There are other materials, supplementary materials which are available. For example, I am the student. I want to go to the college regularly, but I am getting difficult to get the textbook. So I primarily need a textbook. Where will I get it? At the free of cost. So what you need to do is, you know, to go to the place where the open textbooks are freely available. There are a lot of repositories which actually store different format, different kind of materials. So you have to identify which repository will give what material, which is relevant for me. Then you can look for it. There are faculty who want to teach the student. They may not be primarily interested on the textbook because they want to refer a lot of materials to teach the student. That's a textbook mainly for the students. Faculty may need reference material. So where the materials, relevant materials is available so that I can teach effectively to the student, I can give extra knowledge where it is available. Also where I can able to get another material, another course during the same time when I study. For example, when you are studying, if you are an engineering student, all students, you can actually go and then enroll yourself through the NPTEL. you can actually get some credit. You need not actually do your own course. You can do music. You can do whatever the course which you want to do it at the free of cost. Some will give the credit, some will not give the credit. So what you need to do is you have to identify what are the courseware, because all those courseware are actually developed and then created by people who are expert on the subject. Maybe they are from India, maybe from outside. Those guys are really top class guys who prepare the classes, who actually deliver the content. So probably these are the best material. We may not have an opportunity to get that type of teachers, but the material prepared by the teachers, I can able to also access IIT materials. If I am studying in the arts college, my teacher may not be that caliber that I cannot underestimate them, but still they may not have that opportunity to give the exposure. But whereas IIT professor might be having an exposure, experience, expertise on a particular subject, where I can get the same material what IIT students get through the open courseware. Now, the teacher, the researcher, people who are actually doing research, they are mainly depend on the primary information, which is actually latest in where I will get the open access journal, the first-hand information. I don't want to pay $30 for an article. I want to get 100 articles free of cost, but the article should be quality. Content should be very, very important, authentic quantity. Where will I get it? So what I need to do is I have to go to open access journal where I can do it. I'm not interested. I am specific subject. I am doing cross interdisciplinary subject where I will get, for example, I am doing a biochemistry student or biophysics student. I am looking for a material, specific material for my subject, or I might be looking for a data sets. Where will I get it? So what you need to do is material, get the specific data, then you'll get it. Yes, I need the material, but in the digital media, I don't want a text format. I need something on the interactive format. Where can I get it? I think all those, the solutions are there. Right, the materials are available in different format where I can able to get. For example, there is something called OER Commons. The OER Commons really helping you to give lot of searchable materials at different levels, from the school level to higher education level, research level. You can able to do that. Now schooling going to be changed. The way we are actually studying in the schools, I need not go to the school. Sitting in my home, I can study and then write the examination and then get the certificate. And then I need not go to the college. Instead of going to the college, directly I can enroll myself elsewhere and then get the certificate. Then finally what I can do is I can go to the industry, get the job. So I can bypass going to the school, colleges for the studies. What I can do is I can directly go to some of these course material, or the courses are available, which is they will give the certificate. That certificate is going to help me. That means I need not go to the schools or colleges. If the schools or colleges are provided by the students, then what is the future of the schools and colleges? Are they going to be there? Because already we are shutting down many engineering colleges. If they are going to shut down the engineering colleges, what happened to the teachers who teaches those colleges? What is the life? People who do the research. There are many things are answered. We need to answer. So what we can do is, one side, it's really giving an alternative opportunities. These are the materials. For example, somebody want to teach. You might be wondering, okay, all those things are fine. I can able to do this, that, and all. But when I go to the classroom, when I go to the laboratory, for example, I am the student of biology, or I may be a student of zoology. I go to the laboratory, I do the dissection, I take an actual specimen, I take some, for example, rat. I will actually do physically, I do that. Will I be able to get the same kind of exposure, experience when I do in the course through the online? You might be asking, I'm an engineering student. I study engineering. I can go to the laboratory. I can go to that particular machine, operate, how it operates, how it actually fail, when it actually start, what are the practical difficulties. So I have the hands-on experience on actually operating that particular machine, so that when I go to the place, practical place, I can remember, then I can able to do that. But when I study the same course, engineering course, through open course, will I be able to get it? I will not get the same exposure, the same experience. What do I do now? There are materials which is really available, what we call the simulation materials. You cannot get the same experience, same field, but you can able to get similar kind of experience, exposure through the different type of materials which is given. So these are some of the materials which are available. Now, most of us thinking that the data is not available. Whatever the data I'm looking for, it is not freely available. It is available on cost. I have to pay for it, then I can able to get it. For example, if you are the student, fishery student, or maybe you are arts college students, you are actually doing some zoology student, you want to know how much of actually fish has been exported from Tamil Nadu to other countries, how much of what is the fish, how much of a ton fish has been or fish product has been exported to outside, how much money we have earned, because coast is also giving a lot of money to us. How I can able to get foreign money in India, because we are spending money to foreign to import coal and other things, petroleum products, but also we need to exploit the resources roaming around us. For example, fish is the one which is freely available. The fish product I can export to the other countries, how much of I have earned. So if I want to get the statistics, then where will I get it? I have to go for the commercial databases, they will charge, but you need not go for it. There are the same material, because all those materials are available freely in the government website. For example, how many people have the drinking facility in a particular village, particular district. If I want to get the data for my research, where will I do that? I want to teach my students about a particular concept. For example, transport during the corona, how the transport sector has been affected, how much of the loss is they incurred. I want to teach my student. How do I teach? Where will I get the data? So what you need to do is you have to go there. We are talking about too much on smart cities. There are smart cities. Trichy will be a smart city. After some time, some other city will come. Mysore will come. Then after some time, something else is coming. Why there is a change in that? What are the parameters? How they evaluate the smart cities? What are the criteria they use? If I want to understand those things, and then I want to explain my students, then where will I get the data? So probably you don't hunt for those information. The government website will give. For example, data. The data and data sets are freely available in the government website itself. Right? Right, now I'll stop here, and because already we are overshooting time, I'll stop here. Venkatachalam and Kalyani, I'll stop here. Any questions? There are 3 or 4 questions I'll take.
Yes, sir. We got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
1 second, sir. Sir, Manjula, one of the participants, Manjula, she has asked many resources available online for free. So how to decide whether the material is open access or copyrighted?
Each material, when you want to download, we were talking about the material which is for the education purpose, research purpose, commercial purpose. First thing you have to understand what material you're looking for, what purpose. For example, if you're looking material for an academic purpose, most probably you need to actually acknowledge where you are taking, how you are going to use, where you are going to use it. The moment you give an acknowledgement, most probably, because it comes under the fair use, there is something called a copyright fair use. Most probably, being an academician, you have no issues. If you are the researcher and your research is an academic oriented, not commercial oriented, then there is no problem. But again, you have to see all these materials. Once if you go there, the site itself will give a declaration saying that this material can be used for academic purpose. This can be used for distribution, and this cannot be used without permission. This can be modified. So all those are given in the different format. It's called the CC, Creative Commons. At the end, you can see the conditions will be given there. Based on the condition, you can use it where you want. And most probably, material can be used for academic purpose, but you have to properly acknowledge it. And also, you have to check that can be used only for the academic individual use, not for the distribution. You cannot distribute the same material to your students through the course pack and other things, because you have to see the conditions. And second important thing is you are asking the quality. Quality content is the major problem. What you need to do is, when you are actually identifying the sources, just like that, don't download material which is available freely. Rather, you identify material, the open access material are actually compiled and then given. For example, institutional repository. Some of the universities will have the institutional repository, colleges will have the institutional repository. The librarian actually know which material they are putting in the institutional repository. Definitely, you can use those material. They are one quality. They can have free, mostly free from the copyright. But they may not give the full access, they may give the partial access. It all depends upon the copyright facility and then publisher license agreement. Next question. Madam.
Okay, sir. So another participant, Shivashankar Prasad, has asked, can we refer the open educational resources for citation in theses and journals? And which is not peer reviewed and has no value. So what is your opinion on this? So can we refer the open education resources for citation in thesis and journal articles, which is not peer reviewed and has no value? So he's asking about your opinion on this.
The first question is not right. All this open course material, for example, open course where all the materials. It is just like that. I can't put open materials because there are certain agency which actually evaluate. If you are putting material thinking that it is open, then it is, for example, you are actually commenting, you are making comment through the WhatsApp. There is nobody can evaluate, nobody can identify the genuinity. That is totally different. It is not open access. The open access, I think you need to understand what is open access. There are difference between open access and material freely available on the net. You can access the open access material because open access has certain criteria, certain procedure, certain instruction. The material has to go through certain process. Then only it call it as the open access material. For example, if I write a journal, if it is an open access journal, then it has to go to certain procedures. It has to pass all those procedure and standard. Then it will be put it on the website free of cost. Then what we call it as an open access journal. This can be used. These material are freely available, authentic, quality material. This can be referred. Material which is available freely, they are not actually, authenticity is questionable. We are not very sure because it's freely available, but they are not open access in nature. It is open, it is openly available, not open access. You are not very sure the copyright implication on that unless you see the website. For example, I put my photo on the website. You cannot actually download. It is freely available, openly available. You cannot download without my permission because I may put some conditions, because I want to showcase myself to outside world. Therefore, I put my photograph. I may put some kind of research activities outside, but not necessarily you can actually download and then use it. You have to get permission. There are two difference. One is open access, which go through proper process and it has been properly captured and put it in a proper place. It may be institutional repository, it may be a certain databases, it may be a certain section of organization or association. They put the material in a particular place where you can access. Material which is freely available, openly available, not necessarily open access, their authenticity, quality will be definitely a questionable. You cannot just like that use it without understanding the copyright implications. Yes, you can actually, there are materials, if it is open access material, it's accessed from some of these institutional repository, you have to actually give the credit. You need to give the credit. For example, even if you are taking the Twitter as a source, then you can have to give the credit where you have taken the material. For example, somebody make a comment on certain demonetization, for instance, people actually giving lot of comments. You can, if you want to really take those tweets, you can really take, for example, minister make a tweet. It is an authentic information because the minister giving information, it is authentic. You can actually refer, but you can cite it. Absolutely, there is no problem. But what material you are taking, how you are using, that is an important. You have to evaluate. If you are not the right person, you are unable to do that, then you can actually get expert opinion before you use it.
Fine, sir. One more question, sir. So many resources are available. This is question from Megan Manchula. Available online for free. How to check whether the material is open access or copyrighted? I think we can, sorry, I think I'm repeating the question, right?
I think we
Sir,
have
how will the online teaching can be provided for the skill-oriented subjects?
There are many ways. For example, there are something called simulation, gamification. They use different tools and techniques. For example, maybe just give me 2 minutes. If I am able to, I don't know whether I can able to do that, then I can explain to you how I can able to teach the particular subject. The techniques, I don't know whether I can. Let me just check if I'm able to do that. Right, even the classes you can able to do that because they use a lot of gamification classes. Yes, there are possibility, but whatever that you are getting in the face-to-face, the same you will not definitely get it. There is a complete difference between those two things. But yes, there are our courses are giving because they will give different type of exercise. You have to go and then, for example, some of these skill-based activity, you have to go outside. You have to explore all those things. It is not just only online mode. They will give a lot of assignment. The assignment is practical oriented. You have to go and then do practically. Maybe somebody will guide you how you have to do, what you have to do, all those things with the instructions. You have to go to the outside field and then do it. For example, if I want to know or if I want to get some kind of field experience, then they will give an assignment where you have to go to the field and then do all those things. So all those practical experience will be there. You have to carry out without supervision. There are methods, tools. There are some, for example, if a student who studies for instance, your student want to study marketing. For example, the market has come down. Now he will be getting a software, simulation software. For example, if it is a rainfall is there, more actually people can produce crops. That crops will be sold out. Then he can get the money. He can buy the motor, two wheelers. So I can actually get more sales on the motors. If the rainfall is come down in my area, there is no crop production will be there. People doesn't have the money. Then automatically my two-wheeler will not go up to the mall. There are simulations, different condition you can put. If this condition happens, what is going to happen my business, and this condition happens, what is going to my business. This is apply for all the fields. So there are certain simulation software available that actually help them. But yes, if you're asking me frankly, face to face has its own experience, and unless you go and then experience with somebody's guidance, it may not be 100% true experience. Yes, madam. We'll stop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
1 second, sir. Sir, can you take few more questions?
I'll take
shall we end?
I'll take only one question, madam.
One question. This is from Christopher. Dear sir, in the plenty of open education resources, how to decide that this is the best one for my need or the need of my library?
Very simple. You yourself know which is the best one. So when you are actually, because you are the right person to evaluate with something what we call a literacy evaluation, how to evaluate authenticity, how relevant it is, how current it is. There are certain attributes are there. For example, if I want to teach my student computer science, you know what are the attributes that should be latest, should be on the new technology oriented. You cannot actually take the one which is outdated. Though it is a quality authentic material, it may not be relevant. So you have to think how it is relevant, to whom it is relevant. For example, you might be having the good quality material which is not relevant for your student. It may be useful only for the researchers. The material is good, relevant, but still it may not be relevant for your own audience. So the librarian know who is my audience and whom I want to give, what material is available, how relevant it is, how currency it is, so that I can able to give the material. For example, after Corona goes, if I want to do research on Corona, it may not be actually that much of value. If I do research now, it has got some weightage. It will have some kind of sensation. So I have to understand which one is the current, which one is actually reliable, which one is most suitable, and what type of audience I have, whether this are going to help my audience. Then yeah, all the material which are available, not necessarily have to them, deliver it to them, or provide the link to them. You have to check the relevance, you have to check the currency, you have to check the quality, and you have to check the material copyright issues. Then and also you have to think where you can able to get some kind of similar kind of updations. If the same site going to give some kind of updations regularly, then probably you have to think about. These are some of the criteria which you have to follow.
So shall we end, sir?
Yes, madam, please.
Yeah, thank you. Brahmanathan, are you there? Can you able to share the screen of the feedback link? Brahmanathan, are you there? Okay, fine. So, Sai, thank you very much for your wonderful session, sir.
Thank you, madam. I have to thank all
Can
the
everyone hear me?
participants particularly.
So you need to thank the participants.
Yeah, as well as
Okay,
you.
sir. Fine. Yeah, I
as
just want
being an
to.
organizer.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I just want to make an announcement to the participants. Brahmanathan, can you able to share the screen? Are you there on the line? Venkatachalam, sir? Venkatachalam, sir, are you there?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm here only.
Sir, I had sent you the feedback link PPT to your WhatsApp.
Okay.
I have sent you. Can you able to share? Can you help me,
Yeah,
sir?
trying, ma'am. I'll try.
Okay. So the feedback link, participants has been asking the feedback link. So it will be shared in the screen now, and it will be posted as well as in the description box of the YouTube link, which is relevant now. So you can find the feedback form in the description of the YouTube link, as well as now it will be posted in the screen. So you can make a note of it. And after the session gets over, it will be pasted in the comment section too. So the feedback frame link will be pasted in the description box of the YouTube link, and now it will be posted at the end of the this session. It will be posted now. It will be posted on the screen. You can make a note of it. It will be pasted in the comment section also. After the session gets over, you can have a glance of the comment section. It will be pasted in the comment section. You can submit. So those who are submitting the feedback link and also who can register for the event, you will be provided the certificate within a week. So those who attended the online webinar yesterday as well as today, so kindly give us 1 week time, because I am getting a flood of messages in the mail. So when will we receive the certificate? Actually, it has been given in the invitation link to itself. It has been mentioned that we need at least 1 week time for providing the certificates. So please be patient and bear with us. Your certificates will be provided within a week. So kindly submit the feedback form. Again, I am repeating, it will be pasted in the comment section after the session gets over, and as well as it will be in the description of the YouTube link, the same link, so that you can fill the form. If you can't able to track, you can mail me. I will message you the feedback link also. Thank you. So now it's time for vote of thanks. I convey my sincere and heartiest thanks and gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. B. Kulandevelu, and also to our Registrar, Dr. K. Thangavelu, sir, and our Principal, Dr. B. Karthikeyan, and our college teaching as well as non-teaching staff members and guest lecturers. I convey my heartiest thanks to our resource person, Dr. K. Ilavalagan, librarian and Chief Knowledge Officer of Indian Institute of Management, Trichy, for his wonderful session on open educational resources. We found a lot of questions, so many questions we found in the live chat. Sir, if possible, you can take the questions in the mail also. If you got time, you can answer the relevant questions to them. It's my kind request, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time, sir. I convey my sincere thanks to Dr. A. M. Venkatachalam, Director of Libraries, KSR Educational Institutions, for his immense support and encouragement for making this two-day online webinars possible to me. I convey my thanks to the technical persons, Mr. Tangadari sir and as well as Muttashankar sir, for the enormous support and guidance in making this seminar possible. I convey my thanks to all the participants who have been patiently listening to these two-day webinars and posing meaningful questions for the discussion. I convey my sincere thanks once again to all the participants for participating in this 2 days webinar. I thank you one and all present here. With your words of encouragement, I think we can conduct many more webinars like this. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Venkatachalam sir.
Yeah, ma'am, I have posted the feedback link in the comment box, ma'am. I am unable to share. I have posted 2 times in the comment box.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I will post in the description area also. Within 5 minutes, I will post in description area also.
Okay. So participants, kindly make a note. It will be available in the description box and as well as in the comment section. If you got, you can mail me also, or you can WhatsApp me also. I am enough to send you the back link. Just give us minutes. After 5 or 10 minutes, you can find and find the feedback link in the comment section. So thank you one and all present here, and thank you all the participants for the immense support. Sir, shall we end the session, sir?
Yeah, we can end, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you all.
11, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I have to thank you and Kalyani, Pradhaman, all the people, including the person. Thank you very much. It's really wonderful experience. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.